Hey, welcome to Long Distance Sisters.
I'm Tori.
I'm McKenna.
And I'm Serena.
Come chat with us while we're far apart.
Okay, let's get started.
Welcome back to Long Distance Sisters. I'm your host, Tori, joined by my sisters.
Hey.
We are all the hosts.
McKenna and Serena. Not going to say their names there. They did not.
You are not the only host.
Technically, I'm the host of the Zoom call, so.
Oh, no, you just relinquished that to me so I could record.
No, I made you a co-host, I made McKenna a co-host.
Okay. This week we wanted to chime in on the college conversation because it is that time of year where lots of little hopeful young high schoolers are deciding what college they're going to attend in the fall. And we were all there once.
Mm-hmm.
What a time.
Ugh, it sucked.
Of high highs and low lows.
Well, Serena, you're deciding on grad school right now, right?
I am.
Yeah, so she's still in it.
I'm still in it. Get me out. I'm stuck. Okay. Tori, what schools did you apply to?
Good story. Okay. Well, when I was completing the college application process, we were living in Australia and we weren't sure we were going to move back to the US yet. So I wasn't totally sure I was going to come back to the US for college or if I wanted to stay in Australia for college. So I kind of half-heartedly applied to both, which did not work out well in my favor. That on top of the Australian school system just being different, not really understanding US college applications, it just made it difficult. So I applied to a lot of US schools, like 11 schools, I think. However, a lot of them didn't end up going through if they needed 2 letters of recommendation because my English teacher just never wrote it, no matter how many times I went and asked her. And I didn't really know any other teachers at my high school in Australia because I was only there for like 1 year basically. So I didn't have a lot of relationships with teachers. And at that point it was kind of too late. So I had to throw in the towel on a few of them, but most of them only needed 1 anyway. But because I wasn't sure I was going to go back to the US, most of the schools I applied to are what you would call reach schools, because I was like, if I'm going to go back, I'm going to go back for a school that's worth it, you know? That was my thinking. Plus, we weren't, living anywhere in the US, so applying to smaller local schools, just either didn't really occur to me or seemed kind of pointless to me because I didn't know where we were going to be living. But yeah, the joke is that we found out we were moving to Georgia 2 weeks after I submitted my last college application. Well, after the deadline passed, January 1st or whatever. And so I could have thrown a few Georgia schools in and ran out of time.
Well, you wouldn't have gotten in-state tuition anyway. Because you didn't graduate from a high school.
No, but I would have been closer to home, kind of. Yeah. Although at the time, that's not really what I wanted. So I don't know that I would have done that, but I probably would have applied to have the option. So I ended up getting in to 2 schools from 11. One was a small school in Pennsylvania.
Think Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, literally the school that Pretty Little Liars is based off of. Yeah, Rosewood. Except it's called Rosemont. But I was planning to be an English major at the time, and they had a really good English program where you could actually concentrate in publishing, I think, which is what I wanted to go into, and that's pretty rare. So that was why it actually made the list. And it's a pretty school, but the class size was like 75. So I was like, maybe not. I kind of want like the real college experience. So that's kind of what took it off the list. Otherwise, it was great academically. And then the other school was Northeastern, which is the one I ended up attending. And really the deciding factor for me was that I wanted the bigger school, more in the city, although Rosemont was very close to Philadelphia. So I probably would have been pretty much in Philly, but I wanted the bigger school, more traditional, you know, sports programs and having all the stuff you could ever need right there. But at the time that I accepted, I had only been to Boston once for like 2 hours to go to a museum. So had not really ever seen Boston, had never seen my school. I hadn't toured any college campuses, really. I mean, other than like if we happened to be traveling around one growing up, but like not with the intention of I could go to school here, you know? So I didn't tour anywhere, I didn't do anything. Northeastern was my option at that point because we had learned that we were moving back. So I was not going to stay in Australia. And yeah, if you want to hear about my Australia application process, you can listen to our part 1 of our Living in Australia series, because I have vented about it quite a bit. But yeah, so my story wasn't that interesting. It was kind of just default to Northeastern, but I chose Northeastern because I had heard good things growing up, and there were other kids from where we went to school in Pennsylvania who were going to Boston. Like, it was a pretty common place to branch out to. And yeah.
You want them living the city life.
Yeah, I wanted to live in a city. And I'm really glad I chose Northeastern, because when I did go there, which I did visit one time before my orientation, just to kind of get a feel for it and everything. I was glad I chose it because you get that like big campus feel, even though you're in a city. Like, there's still very much a campus. Whereas that's not very common with a lot of city schools, like BU, also in Boston, and their campus is very spread out, widespread, and just kind of blends into the city a little bit. I mean, it's definitely like there's a BU zone, but like not the same as Northeastern is like a campus with quads and like all the things all right there.
Yeah, that reminds me of like the distinction between like Georgia Tech being all in one spot in Atlanta and Georgia State being more spread out.
Yeah.
But I was actually in Savannah yesterday and did like one of the bus tours, and SCAD is literally just scattered over the city. And very well integrated because they used a lot of refurbished buildings.
Yeah.
I could not.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was glad I was happy with my decision. I love Northeastern. I mean, like any school you go to, you're gonna see some flaws as you attend, usually having to do with money and corporate shit. But I loved it. I liked having like a modern school and campus and buildings, and just a lot of accessibility to anything I could ever need. And yeah, great people. And I think most of the reason I got into Northeastern is because they love to brag about their international students, their international reach. And so I think they just accept like anyone with international experience of any kind. And I was actually considered an international student, which was weird. I was like, but I'm a US citizen. Okay.
Yeah. You graduated from school.
Right. But like I would get invited to like the international student like event, like welcome events and stuff all the time. Like it's okay, I got some free food. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. That's funny.
Students will do anything for free food. Walk across campus in the miserable snowstorm for free food.
Oh yes.
It's a little whack though that if they would have just accepted you because you were international.
But it just was like a theme that I saw with a lot of kids, was like they all had some sort of like experience abroad, like their family lived abroad, or they did an exchange program, or they did a summer program or an internship, like something abroad, and it was just kind of weird. And if they didn't, they were invited to do the NUN program, which is where you like and not everyone, I mean, I don't know if that's really the criteria for NUN. There are certainly people I know that lived abroad and then also did NUN. But it's like a program for, I don't know, it's like people who were waitlisted maybe, or like they didn't, and they kind of get the option to delay coming to campus, but during that delayed semester they go abroad somewhere. It's an interesting program, but everyone who's done it has really loved the experience, and I think they do it like really to just kind of space out people coming in to campus and make room with, you know, maybe whoever doesn't return after the first semester or whatever, because it's a city, so sometimes they are short on space, like for dorms and stuff. So so they would travel abroad for their first semester and then get oriented and everything for spring as their first semester on campus.
Very nice.
Now, okay, so obviously you didn't start, you started as an English major, and then you went into physical therapy. So just briefly, why might someone interested in physical therapy want to choose Northeastern?
So multiple answers. So first, I started as an English major. Well, I was actually a double major. I was English and communication. So I had two majors initially, but they were ones that fit well and overlapped. So that was why it was manageable. And I did love, like, I love communications and I love English. Like, those topics are very interesting to me, but I think they were a better fit for me, like, as a hobby kind of thing. Like, the workload for English was a lot. It was like writing an essay every night, which was just like a lot. And I mean, it was like on an article you read or something, or you read, but like we had to, and I heard it was just my teacher. I got a really hard teacher, was giving us like 30-page essays to read and then like write our own essay like for class in 2 days. Like, it was insane.
That's awesome.
So I felt like I did nothing except that class for like my whole first semester, and all my other classes were like fun classes. But so I just quickly was like, I don't want to write essays for the next 4 years, like nonstop. Like, it's just like, I love writing, but not like this. So I was like, okay, I think I need to rethink this. I wanted to go into like publishing, editing, like I said initially, and I also kind of got a wake-up call that I might not get to the job that I ideally want, at least not in a very timely manner. And to me, like, the other jobs, like, just weren't worth it. Like, that was the job I wanted. Like, that's that. So I was like, okay, I think I need to rethink this. I'm not sure this is really where, like, I'm passionate as much as I love it. And I had always thought about healthcare, but I'd always been like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't want to give injections or shots. I don't want to be a surgeon. Like, so I always kind of brushed it off. But my freshman year, I was on the cheerleading team at Northeastern, and there were a lot of physical therapy majors on the cheerleading team. And so they would, you know, like, be talking about class or be practicing on each other, or like pointing out different muscles on people. And like, I just thought it was very interesting. So I started looking into the physical therapy program and physical therapy in general, because I had never even had physical therapy. So I didn't really know what it was. I think I imagined it more as like an athletic training sort of thing. But once I learned, like, there was a whole lot more. You could be inpatient, outpatient, like all these different specializations. I started to think it was for me because I'd always been like very like body aware. As a cheerleader, you know, you learn how your body moves and how you can make it move a certain way. So I just felt like I was always very in tune with my body, and I wanted to be able to like teach that to other people. And to just get to know it better. Like the anatomy, learning the anatomy sounded like the most fun thing in the world to me. And I always loved anatomy classes. So I transferred into the PT program during my first semester. I did all the, you know, paperwork and everything for that. Still finished all my other classes because they would count towards like my core requirements and stuff anyway. And then started as a PT in the fall or the spring. And the reason I could do that at Northeastern is because at the time, it is now dissolved, but they had a 6-year accelerated program where they combined your undergrad and your graduate portions of physical therapy into like one 6-year program. So you could kind of start taking your grad courses while you're still undergrad, like wherever they fit in. We went through summers and we just kind of shoved it all together into one lump of 6 years instead of 7. And that includes 2 6-month co-ops, which most schools don't have. So really it was all of that in 5 years, plus a year of co-op on top of it, like as bonus.
Which are like internships for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, so co-op is like an internship. It's always paid. Well, pretty much always paid. And you just work full time in your field. And that's like one of the number one reasons people choose Northeastern is because of the co-op program. You're required to do 2 co-ops. You can do 3 in order to graduate. You have the alternative to do like a service kind of thing instead, or like research. I think you can replace it with research if you're very involved with research at the school, but that's still kind of a co-op. It's just like different. You're like maybe they get class credit or something. I don't know. But yeah, at Northeastern, you're required to complete 2 6-month co-ops where you work full time in your field and get paid. And that's for any program in the whole entire school. That's a graduation requirement. So that's why a lot of people go, because it's in Boston. There's a lot of really good companies, especially in healthcare. There's a lot of big hospitals in Boston. So it's like a hub for healthcare. So it's a really good place to find a co-op and internships. And, you know, co-ops often turn into jobs for a lot of people if, you know, it's in an area that they are looking to work. So it's a really big program. And I'm glad I got to do it. And then, you know, on top of the co-ops, I had like my normal rotations that you would have at the end of PT school, no matter where you go. So I left school having had a lot of in-clinic experience that a lot of people don't get, even with their clinical rotations. Like for some people, when they show up at their rotations, it's the first time they're ever seeing patients or ever in a clinic space, or, you know, like understanding how a clinic works and flows, whereas I already had a year of that, you know. So it was very helpful to make me much more comfortable when I was going in to clinicals where I had to actually be the physical therapist and not just being thrown into it, never having touched a patient before. So yeah, co-ops, PT program, but unfortunately the APTA is like dissolving all the condensed PT programs because I don't know, probably comes down to money, you know, most things do. And we did have like post backs in our class that they joined when we started the grad school stuff. They like joined us even though they had done undergrad separate. So we did all the same coursework as people who came in just as physical therapy program attendees. But we were one of the last classes. of that program, sadly, because it was a really good program. It was very hard. It was nonstop, but
Yeah, to have no summers, just like a week in between, that's pretty tough. Absolutely.
but co-op was nice. I mean, you're working full time, but you don't have to study.
Yeah.
You got home and you just were done every day, and you got paid. So it was nice. Like it's a thing at Northeastern to be like, I'm co-op rich this semester.
That's funny. That is nice to get paid for an internship. Yeah. Wow.
Ugh.
All right,
Yeah.
McKenna, tell us about your applicating and applicating. That was,
Applying.
I meant to say 2 words and they combined.
The one who's still in school.
Tell us about your process and decision.
Well, after Tori applied to 11 and only got into 2, that kind of scared me. So I planned to apply for 9. I ended up only applying to 7 because the last 2 I wasn't really that interested in. And then I got into 4 of them. When applying to schools, I was mainly looking in state or for places with degrees more specific than just biology, because that's so broad and that wouldn't necessarily teach me about animals, at least not that much. And I was also looking for a bigger school, and especially a school really into at least one sport. So like 5 of them were big football schools and 2 were really big basketball schools. The 4 I got into were, the first one I heard from was my first choice, University of Florida, which was very exciting. And then University of Connecticut, Penn State, and University of Georgia. I almost couldn't think of my school. Penn State probably went out of question first. I did get a pretty good scholarship to go there, but the major I would have had there was like a very pre-vet specific major, and I was like, well, what if I change my mind and I don't want to be pre-vet? Then I'm stuck with just biology. Uconn, I think I loved their marine sciences program. They had like a whole separate campus for marine science related stuff along the coast. I like New England a lot, but their cheerleading team, I don't think they had a competitive cheerleading team. But since University of Georgia and University of Florida did, it came down to those 2. They just both had very specific majors that, so at UGA, I was fisheries and wildlife with like a pre-vet wildlife health emphasis. And University of Florida was some kind of marine sciences thing. And I might have also, I was considering adding the vertebrate zoology major or whatever it was. Obviously both are big football schools, both have intermediate level, which was my level, competitive cheer teams that actually competed against each other. But it just ultimately came down to money. And University of Georgia being having a certain GPA, graduating from a Georgia high school, you can get either 80% or 100% of your tuition covered. And I thought, at the end of the day, the degrees are worth the same. So why pay like 4 or 5 times more for going to University of Florida, even though University of Florida's campus is so pretty. I've still been back a few times since I went on like an accepted students tour with my dad, which by the way, when we were touring that, he's like, McKenna, Thursday nights are a really good night for partying. And then a few kids looked back at him with like kind of like a thanks for letting me know look. I was like, oh my god.
Oh my god. They knew.
But I still liked the feel of UGA because it's very like idealistic, what you expect a college to look like. like lots of green grass around red brick buildings, stuff like that. Obviously to an SEC school, major football school. And yeah, at the end of the day, my decision came down to money, really. And I'm really glad with the way it turned out. My major was great. I also added a biology minor, which let me take like oceanography. I took a scientific diving class that wasn't for my major or minor. I just had room in my schedule, and it was a only slightly less expensive way to get scuba certified, which is really important if you want to work in aquatic sciences. And then another decision that comes after you accept, like choose your school, like that's it, you're in, is deciding whether or not to do Greek life. I did rush my freshman year, like right before school even started. And I'm a very awkward and shy person, and rush did not go that great for me that time around. So I pulled out of it toward the end. And then I rushed again my junior year, and it went really great. I got my first choice. I kind of wanted, I mean, I had been there for 2 years. I got to know a lot of people in most of the sororities. There were still some I didn't really know about, so I was pretty open-minded going into those. And there were two I really liked, and I ended up getting into one of those ones. Which was very nice. I'm a Delta Gamma. Go DG. But I'm glad I waited until I was a junior, because I kind of got my footing in the school more. And I don't know, I was just more settled. I was a more confident person too. So going through rush was still awkward, but much less awkward the second time around. So yeah, if you're considering rushing, but you're not sure, I mean, if you want to make that all your 4 years, there are some girls who were able to do like school, Greek life, and extracurriculars elsewhere on campus. But a lot do say they wish they had like waited a year, or they think it at least would have been a good idea too.
I think it's smart when schools don't let freshmen rush until spring. I think that's a great idea.
I know Vanderbilt does that.
Worry about right away.
Yeah, exactly. And to go to college like early just to rush, and then you also have to move in, then you have to also learn the campus, and it's like, oh my gosh. And it's you're committed to like a lot of activities.
It's kind of like, where are your priorities here? Like, you're here for academics, honey.
Yeah, also by doing it later, I only had to pay for 2 years of Greek life rather than 4.
Very true, very true. Were the football games worth it?
Yeah, the football games were fun. And then my first job was actually working my sophomore year, working at the VIP suites at the football stadium. So, and like that was obviously like a nice gig, because it's a big football school. There are a lot of big football fan alum who are wealthy, who like to come spread the joy in the VIP suites.
And you're in the air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like my third year, I was bartending during most game days, which, especially when it was like some sorority or fraternity's parents' weekend, and they booked out the bar. Ooh, that was so nice.
Get the coin, girl.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice.
All right, Beam.
Okay.
How do you choose your school?
Okay, I did early action applications for like most of them. I don't know, why not? And I applied to mostly like a bunch of Southern schools, because that's where we were in the South, and it's, I had toured schools with McKenna when she was interested in that, and yeah, so I was just looking at a bunch of Southern schools. I didn't really think to go far away or anything. And then when I got decisions back, I didn't really like, I wasn't like excited to go to any of these schools.
Okay, let me just interject. You cried when you got into University of
No.
South Carolina.
Let me explain. Because at that point, I had only gotten into one school so far, and I don't want to shit on the school because a lot of Georgia people love this school, but
Tell us, we'll cut it out.
no, you don't have to cut it out. I'll shit on
Was it Georgia Southern? It was Georgia Southern, right?
It's like Georgia.
Oh, Georgia College
College.
and State University.
Yes, Georgia
That's right.
College State University. I had toured that school like that previous, like my junior year, and it was very tiny, very in the middle of nowhere. I didn't like it. They didn't really have a program that would work for me. And so the only school the first school I had heard from was them. And then I heard from South Carolina. And when I saw I got into South Carolina, I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to go to Georgia College and State University. I was like, oh, good, I have a different option. And I did like South Carolina a lot. But yeah, so I wasn't really excited to go to any of those schools, and none of them had like the particular major I wanted. I wanted an earth science, or geosciences is another term, whereas most of these were either environmental engineering or environmental science or like meteorology and stuff, and none of that was what I was really interested in. So applications were still open for like regular acceptance. So I just solely focused on area because I also didn't really like the South. It's hot, it's humid. I'm not big on the Southern culture. It just wasn't my thing. I didn't care about sports at all, you know. And I really liked New England. I had visited Tori there a few times. We took a trip out to like Cape Cod and around Massachusetts one summer. So I just really liked that area. And I was like, I think I want to be near the beach, but not in a city and everything. And so I was just kind of like I just looked up each state in New England, and I was like, University of Maine, University of Vermont, and just like seeing, I was like, do these places even have schools? And then I was like, oh, New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire, and the school popped up, and I was like, oh, they do have a school. I don't know. I thought it would be just like University of New England, like the Patriots. I don't know. And so I looked at the school. I like looked at their program. They actually had a whole like department dedicated to earth sciences, and I don't know, it's pretty highly ranked, to have a whole earth sciences department, because it's very rare to have a whole department like that. Most schools seem to focus solely like on geology rather than having like the whole spectrum. I think the only other school I applied to that was Penn State, and it was just too expensive to go to Penn State, and I didn't want to be in the middle of Pennsylvania again.
Yeah, I think we just had Pennsylvania nostalgia for that one.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, I know people who are going there.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool. But yeah, so I got in, and I think I was in a similar situation like Tori. I think they really just accepted me or gave me a good offer because I was from out of state, and they don't get many people who aren't from New England to go there. I think they were trying to broaden.
I can say we accepted students from 33 states.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, ooh, it's me. And there was like a representative for like all the southeastern states, and like I would email her like directly, and she would respond pretty fast. So I was like, oh, she's not busy. I was like, oh girl. But no, they gave me a pretty good scholarship and offer and my acceptance letter and everything, which was cool. But I just wasn't interested in college. I didn't really care. I was kind of like, send me anywhere, get it over with. I don't know what else to do. At one point, because I was like sitting with mom and dad, and I had kind of like crossed off schools. I was like, no, I don't want to go to that one. I got waitlisted for UGA, and then nothing ever came of that. So I didn't get accepted into UGA. they didn't really have my program anyway, but at that point I was just kind of like, oh, just send me anywhere. At one point, mom and dad were like, oh my God, where, like, they sat me down. They're like, where are you going to go to school? And I was like, I don't know. I don't care. They're like, do you want to go to the military? And I was like, no.
What?
I was like, no, I do not want to go. Because I didn't want, like, I didn't care. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I wasn't like looking up my schools and like looking at their campus or looking at courses. Like, I was just like, send me anywhere. I don't care. And so I made my decision on like May 1st, the deadline. I was like, I think I sat like in math class with my friend Grace, and she was like, okay, we'll make a pro cons list. I was like, all right. And it was between New Hampshire and South Carolina, and I chose New Hampshire. Yeah, it's all right. The first time I like came to the campus was for orientation. They had like a stay overnight orientation over the summer. So
Same with UGA.
yeah, so mom came with me, and she like got to stay in a dorm too. Not with me, that would have been better, but yeah, so that was the first time I saw the campus. Luckily I liked it. It was very nice. The weather was so nice. You're close to the ocean, but you're close to the mountains, and yeah, it was a really nice campus. It's a campus, it's a college town. Like, and we have like a main street with restaurants and shops and coffee shops and whatever, and like a Walmart 20 minutes away. But no, it's a nice campus, definitely really pretty. I think I would have been fine anywhere though. I think it's easy to make it work. I'm thinking the same way with grad school. Like I think it would be fine wherever I went.
Yeah, you'll find your groove wherever.
Yeah, school is school. It's it's gonna suck a lot of the time because you're just constantly stressed and doing work. UNH does have a really good earth sciences program. It's very well rounded. I'm very happy I ended up here and just went with a gut choice and stuff. And no, that was very cool. And I do really like the program. I don't think I would have been happy doing anything that was strictly, biology or wildlife, or anything that was strictly environmental science, just because those majors feel a little bit repetitive to me. Just my opinion, don't come for me, but like every single animal is struggling because of climate change, and like that's it. I just did every conservation assessment for every animal right now. So they're not doing great. Done. That's it. Mostly the eagle.
Cockroaches.
The eagle's killing it, or the bald eagle. Apparently, the only one. But yeah, no, it's fine. And I'm applying to grad schools. It's fine. It's a different process, and no one really walked me through it. So I think the first school I applied to, I don't think I did it correctly. Like, you're supposed to, I guess, like get in contact with an advisor before you even apply and have them accept you onto their like team, and then you officially apply, and that advisor would say, oh yes, you can accept this person, they'll be on my team. And then that's it. No one explained that to me, so there we go. But it's okay, I ended up getting into one. I only applied to 3. No, I tried to apply to 4, but 2 of my professors forgot to submit recommendations, so I just was like, I'm not even gonna bother paying the $60 it takes to apply. Like, no way. And then the first school I applied to, I didn't get in because I did it wrong, kind of. And then, although I read all of the instructions and none of them said that.
Well, then that's the school's problem.
Well, they had like a box saying like, if you've been in contact with an advisor, write their name here. Otherwise, you like write an essay and like name 3 to 5 that you would work with and why, whatever. So you have to like dig into their research and be like, oh, he's a geomorphologist, I want to work with him, or whatever. And here's why, yada, yada, yada. And then one school I haven't heard back from, so I'm assuming I'm like waitlisted. Like if one person denies an offer, then they'll accept me. But one school I'm in, so it's like I guess I'll just go there. I'll just go there.
Yeah, when I applied for master's programs, I only applied to two schools. And I got into both, but one of them was the one I went to is University of Florida. I ended up getting a degree from there eventually.
Online.
But that one, yeah, online. Well, you can blame COVID.
It's the same, but you didn't get to like live on campus, which
yeah. But mom and I still went around after I graduated to get graduation pictures because we were both in Orlando before then. But for University of Florida, I did have to find an advisor before I applied. And their website explained that clearly to me. For Clemson, it was more like, tell us the kind of research you might be interested in doing and like give us a few professors you might be interested in working with. Yeah. And so I still got in there and they didn't like give me an advisor. Well, I mean, they didn't give me advisors I didn't accept, but I still got in. Mm-hmm. But again, Clemson's would have been a lot like what I did at UGA. And I chose University of Florida because I wanted to learn more about like the aquatic sciences part of things. So it was fisheries and aquatic sciences. Whereas you at University of Georgia, I mostly focused on terrestrial animals. And I was like, well, I want the option of working in a zoo or an aquarium. Mm-hmm. That might be working against me right now. I don't know. Dad and I are both really frustrated. But job process can come another time. Once I maybe have it figured out somewhat. But yeah, that's kind of how it went for grad school. I did look at mostly online stuff because I did want to stay home and like not have to worry about paying rent for a year or however long it took. It only ended up taking me a year, which my advisor was like, that's way too fast, but I did it. And she's like, I can't, someone did it. So she was like, I can't believe you're taking 5 courses. Yeah. I was like, well, I only have a part-time job and it's COVID, so what else am I gonna do?
Yeah, you did. Well, did you start during COVID? Or were you already?
Yeah. Okay. I got my acceptance like a few weeks before spring break, which was when we got the news about COVID.
Okay.
So I had an online program. Nothing about my program changed because of COVID, which was nice. But yeah, I got to like live at home and work part-time. And I think there were plenty of other schools that had like online wildlife masters. Like I think Colorado had some, a lot of out west schools, like Oregon, I think too. But Florida and Clemson were like among the cheaper per credit hour and distance learning fees and stuff. So again, part of it came down to money. Mm-hmm. But then the ultimate decision between the two was the actual like courses. Mm.
I think I based a lot of my decision just around location also. That was a big part of it. And I remember we toured, I think, Duke, not for me, for McKenna. And the tour guide was like, it's okay to make a decision about a school if it's about location, because you're there every single day. And if you hate the location, you're going to hate the school. So
I didn't end up applying to Duke.
Yeah, that's a hard.
I think I applied to UNC Chapel Hill.
If I were to give a piece of advice, if you were like me, like I didn't grow up with like a dream school in mind. Like I was never like, oh, all of my friends, not all of them, but a lot of my friends in Georgia were like, my dream school is UGA, my dream school is tech. And like when they got into those schools, it was a huge deal. But for me, I didn't really care. I was just, yeah, very focused on location. So what I did was just look up the locations I wanted to be and found schools that worked for my major. So you could do that if you are lost and also don't really care. At least be in an area you would like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, surprise, surprise. I mean, yeah, I did take into account location. I wasn't too close to my parents. That was part of it. And obviously, like the major more specific than just biology, just because I had a more specific interest. But again, obviously, like I said before, for me, the choice came down to these degrees are worth the same, and this one will be the least expensive for me.
Yeah.
And I'll also say, if you do go to UGA, go to dog camp, okay? DAWG. It's like they call it extended orientation. There are different types of it, but no matter which type you choose, it's so much fun. And then, at least when I went through it, we got access to an exclusive campus leadership class, which I did take part in. And part of that class was like learning about diversity and stuff too. But also just getting to know yourself better, planning out your goals better, and just getting acclimated to college life better.
Yeah, I tried to do like UNH had a program like that, and mom said no because something about like the date I was moving in and how it corresponded with the date Tori was moving out. Mom was like, it doesn't work if you go a week early or 2 weeks early, and I was like, no. So I didn't get to do the program.
Mm.
Oh, mother. Yeah.
Biggest piece of advice for.
I'll admit, when I was choosing schools to apply to, I wanted a reputable school. Like I wanted a name people would recognize. Not that it had to be Ivy League or anything, but especially I think because I was going in as an English major, I was like, I think the name of my school will help me stand out when I'm looking for a job and things in the future. So that was definitely part of my decision. But then, yeah, it was mostly like I wanted a city. I wanted to be in the north. Like it was location. Like I said, I never saw the campus or anything before. I just was like, I don't really care. Like I just want like to be north city, that kind of feel.
You're like, I heard of Northwestern. What's the difference? Yeah, but also, yeah, scholarships are important. They are important.
I didn't say anything about scholarship.
I'm adding that to mine.
Oh, okay.
Because
yeah.
McKenna
that
talked about
honestly
mine.
goes with mine.
Yeah.
Too.
I wasn't eligible for most scholarships.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah. We know.
International.
Yeah, international. But
That sucks.
scholarships, yeah. I probably would
My
have.
decision even across the board.
I'm going for a scholarship.
Yeah. Yes, it definitely helped influence the choice of New Hampshire was a scholarship, an honors program, which I didn't apply to. They just put it in my acceptance.
Is the UNH honors program overrated like the Northeastern one is?
Oh, for sure. I honestly, well, I don't really know the difference between regular and not. I know for me, you have to do like 4 honors classes, where you can make like a regular class honors just by talking to the teacher, or it's like honor specific honor students only, and they're either like writing intensive or discussion intensive classes, which you only have to take 4 in 4 years, so like you can really spread them out. And I made all of my discovery courses honors, so that way like they were like a little easier. And then like I did honors intro to drawing. Come on. Like
What made it
then,
honors? What made it honors?
I think we just had more homework assignments. And then you also have to do a thesis, which you can also do like just regularly. You don't have to be honors to do it, but for honors, it's a requirement. I probably wouldn't have done it if I wasn't in the program, but it's not necessary.
I think at UGA, I didn't apply to honors, like partly because my major, the last 2 years, you're supposed to just do classes for our major. So I wouldn't have been able to take any honors classes. But the one thing I heard about UGA honors classes, I think, was that they were just smaller class sizes. That's all I knew.
Yeah, I could see that. Like last semester I did Intro to Philosophy, the honors version, which is just like a freshman level class and stuff. And my class was 20 people, whereas the regular seminar is like 100. So I can see how it'd be smaller, but who cares?
I didn't care about class size.
Yeah, who cares?
Hey, the bigger, the more I blend in.
Yeah.
And I can take BuzzFeed quizzes on my laptop in the back row.
Magnum cum laude still won't get you loud. Magnum cum laude, loud.
Wow.
Magnum cum laude.
I think it's
Magnum cum laude still won't get you in to the grad school you want. So, what's the fucking point?
It won't get you the job you want.
Yeah.
What's the freaking point?
Yep. Oh well. Okay. That's it. Go to college. Don't go to college. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, like the Northeastern honors program, like they all had to live together, and they said it was really only a thing for your first like year or two. And like everyone I know who was in it was like, it was dumb. It was definitely just like a like marketing ploy to like get me to choose Northeastern. So, like, not that they were unhappy with Northeastern, but they were just like, it was pointless.
Yeah, a lot of people at UNH like dropped the program just because it's also hard to schedule those classes.
Yeah, and it's like your employer after graduation does not care that you were in honors. Like, it's not a thing. Like, they're not like, oh, she was in honors. No.
Wow, she was good in high school, and that's why she's in this program.
Right.
Like that's years ago. They don't care anymore. Yeah.
Okay, Serena, you want to lead off the quiz this week?
You can fall into 4 different college student subcategories, and I'm generally curious which one you are. Are you genuinely curious, community contributor? When doing errands, you schedule tasks to be completed, never know what's due, complete tasks randomly, go with the flow.
I schedule tasks to be completed. Like I know what order I'm going to be in, and I know what time I'm going to leave by or try to leave by.
I don't like this. I thought doing errands is like going to the grocery store.
Yeah. I guess maybe she was meaning like just tasks you have to get done. Like,
I mean, I had to go grocery shopping and stuff in college.
I know, but this is
drop something off at the UPS store.
But this, I don't know. Never, the one that's throwing me off is never know what's due. That sounds like it's schoolwork.
I'm gonna say complete randomly.
I'll say go with the flow.
I would say go with the flow.
Yeah.
Seems more, yeah.
All of your assignments are done in advance, never done, turned in on time. Day due? I'm confused. Done in advance.
It
Turned in on time.
On time.
It's up early, girl. Do you go to college parties? No, always, sometimes. I don't know. Question mark.
Sometimes.
No. I tried. I went once and I hated it. I mean, like hanging out with friends casually, I'm not considering a party.
No.
Like a party.
Are you involved in school? I play sports. I'm always working. Not really. I'm in a bunch of clubs.
I was in a bunch of clubs in college.
I was working instead during college, so I'll say that.
I have a job, but I spend most of my time not doing that job. So I'll say not really. That's one thing with college. I gave up on clubs. Like I was in maybe like 2 or 3, and then COVID hit, and I just never went back again. And I was like,
I mean, for my first 2 years of college, I was still like on the pre-vet track, so I still had to compete to get into yet another school. That's like the hardest type of school to get into.
where do you sit during class? Front row, back row, middle row? I never go to class.
Back row.
Virtual row. Just kidding.
Middle row.
Back row.
Middle row. Do you ask questions? Randomly, always, no. Depends on the class.
Depends on the class.
No.
I save my questions to ask after class privately with the teacher. I'll say depends on the class. I got intellectual outsider.
Oh.
Not that deep. Wait, what? You're used to the fact that everyone in class ignores you because they're intimidated by your intelligence. People think you're mysterious, and it doesn't help that you're always reading fantasy novels in the backseat. My Game of Thrones. Nevertheless, you have your little circle of fellow lovable weirdos keeping you company. All right, so first of all, who is pulling out a book to read before a lecture? No one. No one's doing that. You arrive to class 5 minutes beforehand, and then you just sit there. That's probably when you check your email.
Yeah, sit on your computer, go on Facebook, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got average Joe.
Me too.
You love to read outside, go on walks, point out cute dogs, go to the movies, and hang out with your friends. Life isn't too complicated with you, and people like that you're predictable in a good way. We love your positive vibes.
Oh gosh.
What were some of the other options, Tori? If you scroll down.
Clueless. And star.
Ah.
All right. I guess I'm cool with average Joe.
Yeah. All right. That about wraps it up for this week's episode.
Yep.
Thank you all for joining in and listening to us talk college. What a trip down memory lane for us.
Yeah.
Be sure to do all the things like comment, rate, review, subscribe, download, follow.
Let us know about your college experience. Are you a Delta Gamma too? Did you go to one of our schools?
Yeah. Any other Huskies out there?
Or hopeful Huskies or Bulldogs or what are you
Wildcats.
Yeah. If you guys have questions about getting into school or getting into our schools, let us know.
Mm-hmm. Although I did enjoy college probably until COVID happened.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Oh, wow. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we will catch you next week. Bye. Say bye. Say bye.
Bye, Beach.
Thanks for listening to this week's Long Distance Sisters. Be sure to subscribe for more episodes and leave a good review.
And check out the video version on our YouTube channel.
You can find all of our other social media information in the description.
Talk to you later.
Bye.